It's been a month since Judas Priest released Invincible Shield, and while I loved this album right away, one of the questions I kept asking myself upon its release was how it might age, and whether my perception of this record will change with time. And I have to be honest with you, it actually did. First of all, I have to point out that I actually first heard Invincible Shield roughly a month before its release date, so my today's perception of it is actually based slightly more than just a month since March 8th. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, in my original review of the record, I boldly stated that Invincible Shield is among the strongest albums this band has ever released, after placing it in the same ranking category as the band's 1990 masterpiece Painkiller. And I'll make sure to address that statement a bit later in the video. But first I have to point out that the most obvious change for me was my choice of a favorite song. At first I was 100% sure that if I had to pick a favorite one of Invincible Shield, it would definitely, without any doubts, be the title track to this record. And here's the weird thing, I still think that Invincible Shield is the strongest and possibly the most definitive song of this album as a whole, at least one of, and definitely is among the most memorable tracks this band has written in over 30 years. But the more time passes, the more I find myself going back to some other songs on the album. In fact, as of right now, my favorite tracks of Invincible Shield are Devil in Disguise and As God Is My Witness. Well, last week it was Giants in the Sky which was holding that spot.
It's the devil in disguise.
And this is the first thing which has changed for me, and I'm sure for many Judas Priest fans. I started developing a much more personal relationship with individual songs of the record, and instead of re-listening to Invincible Shield only as a whole, like I did at the beginning, I am now often going back to specific songs which suit my current mood at that given day. Just like I sometimes do with the albums which I've known for many years. But there is also another track which, since the album's release, has simply blown my mind and has actually done that after the album's release date. Those who watched my initial review of Invincible Shield know that I went track by track but only covered the standard edition release, and I did that with a rather selfish purpose, yet accidentally it was actually one of the best decisions one could make analyzing this album. Well, first of all, one of the biggest thrills for a metalhead is that feeling of excitement you get on a day when a new album by your favorite band that you've been waiting for so long finally comes out. And this feeling is simply unmatched, and that's why I deliberately and rather selfishly left those 3 songs unheard to have something to be excited about together with the worldwide metal family on March 8th. But after hearing those, I have to say that I'm actually very happy that I didn't include them in my original review. Invincible Shield as an album is perfectly cohesive if you listen to it the way you're supposed to enjoy it, and in the experience with the best possible album closer, Giants and the Sky. And that's it. And now to the weird part. No, I don't think that the bonus tracks are weak. Not at all. In fact, one of the current favorite ones of mine on the album is Fight of Your Life, which, with its hell-bent for leather-like feel and uplifting lyrics, really resonate with me. But at the same time, I do believe that these songs would break the album's flow, and I really wish streaming platforms would carry a standard edition album separately from the deluxe one, allowing you to separate those like you can do on physical releases. As for me, those 3 tracks should definitely be enjoyed by themselves individually, rather than prolonging the album after its perfect end with a nod to the fallen rock and roll heroes. Although yeah, this is not really an evaluation of those 3, and still funny enough, those bonus tracks, including the unusual The Lodger, are honestly better than 99% of the music coming out today.
In the moment when you think you're falling, it's up to you.
But going back back to that original assessment of Invincible Shield. One of the biggest questions was whether the initial praise so many fans have given Judas Priest's newest output was deeply affected by clever marketing or simply the freshness factor and would slowly fade away as more time passed. In fact, I was actually quite worried me placing it so high in the Judas Priest discography hierarchy would play a bad joke on Invincible Shield when I'd go back to it sometime later. But weirdly enough, it shows no sign of slowing down or deviating from its course of becoming one of my all-time favorite Judas Priest records. No, seriously, it is actually quite freaky how one cannot get tired of it for almost 2 months now, and I can't remember the last time a new album has had me hooked for that long. And no, don't get me wrong, I love Senjutsu, I really like 72 Seasons or Sinner Rides God, but there's just something strange about Invincible Shield which feels both old school and modern at the same time, allowing you to appreciate it from different perspectives depending on your personal journey without really getting tired of it. And yet, my perception of Invincible Shield has still changed since I first heard it. Upon my first listens, I immediately compared it to Painkiller, and while it still places it in the same category as I did in that ranking video simply because of its what if factor, Painkiller for me was always a standalone record in a Judas Priest discography. It is one of those albums which simply came out of nowhere as a thunder on a sunny day and left in exactly the same manner. But Invincible Shield is different. In fact, after re-listening to the entire Judas Priest discography, I realized that I really enjoy listening to Invincible Shield as the third one in a row of Screaming for Vengeance, Defenders of the Faith, and apparently Invincible Shield. It being somewhat of an alternative universe follow-up to Defenders of the Faith if the band would not have decided to go a much more commercial direction they did on Turbo, which I guess just once again shows that this album is among Judas Priest's best. As for many, including myself, those two records were actually among the best, and not only in the Judas Priest discography, but in heavy metal overall. And so yeah, I know that it may sound weird, but hey, I'm a Judas Priest fan, so I'm allowed to do that. But at least as of right now, for me, Invincible Shield is aging like a fine wine. And I'm really excited to release a similar episode a year from its release to see how the fans' perception of it will evolve and whether it will actually withhold the test of time. But more than anything, and especially after seeing all those clips on YouTube and all of those amazing videos you metal pilgrims have been sending to me, for which, by the way, I'm very thankful, guys. I'm looking to hear at least some of the songs from this record live. And here, guys, I just wanted to once again thank you all for the amazing support you're showing to me, this show, and Ukraine, guys, through this very, very difficult time. And just point out that despite the whole fact that I know that it might not actually be on the news anymore around the world, but the terrible war in my country is still going on. There are people dying here every day, and the suffering so many civilians around Ukraine are forced to endure is simply unimaginable in the 21st century. So guys, please continue supporting us in any way you personally can, at least so that thousands of Ukrainian heavy metal maniacs can see some of their favorite bands live very, very soon. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about Invincible Shield today, a month after its release? Please let us know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching this short video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!